So, you were serious before when you said you wanted to help Branka, huh? I'm Oghren. I don't know if you remember. People seem to forget me these days. Or ignore. I forget which. I have. For all the sodding good it's done me. I'm the only one who still cares about her as a person. Everyone else thinks she's just a symbol they can leave in the deep roads where she can't offend anyone. I know what Branka wanted and how she was looking. You, I assume, know whatever Harrowmont's men have dug up on where exactly she disappeared. If we pool our knowledge, we stand a chance of finding Branka. Otherwise, good sodding luck. You should know that Branka was looking for the Anvil of the Void, the secret to building golems, which was lost centuries ago. The smith Caridin built it, and with it, Orzammar had 100 years of peace, while it was protected by the golems forged on the Anvil. As far as anyone knows, the Anvil was built in the old Orton Thaig. Branka planned to start looking there, if she could ever find it. All she knew was that it was past Caridin's cross. No one's seen that Thaig for 500 years. Why? We were sodding married until she left me and took our whole house into the deep roads on her mad quest for the Anvil. It was a stupid move. If I'd been with her, she'd have made it back years ago. But I forgive her. If we're going, let's get moving. Branka's not gonna sodding find herself.
What's going on, everybody? We finally got Oghren in our party. Yes, man! This dude's really cool. Good-hearted dude. He's kind of crass. Not much for manners and so on and so forth. He'll belch in your face and you know, send out the silent but deadly farts, you know, when you least expect it. Yeah, that's Oghren, but he's actually really cool. Now, I'm going to bring him along because I think at some point it actually forces him into your party anyway. I kind of want to get accustomed to having him around. He's not real tanky. I mean, he's really in there. I mean, he can take some damage. He can do his thing, but he's more, you know, a DPS guy. Off tank, I guess you could say. And Shale is basically the same. Shale has his own version of defense and tankiness, but neither of them are anywhere near Alistair. Shale mainly because you can't buff him with a lot of the armor and rings and belts and amulets and things of that nature that can kind of put him over the top and allow him to actually take some real damage. He's got a decent health pool, I guess you could say that. But with him, when you're playing Nightmare and Friendly Fire is an issue, there's a lot of his abilities which don't factor in. You know, like the Ground Slam can stun your entire party and get you killed. You know, instead of killing the enemy, it gets the party killed. That type of thing. So there's a lot of that to factor out. So he's not, for me, a preferred party member, but I don't have a lot of experience with him. I've never really used him a whole lot. Pretty much Alistair's my go-to tank, you know, and it's always pretty easy like that. And so I'm trying something new here. This is definitely not the party I would run down here with, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, if we can get away with it, that's cool. Really, I want Oghren and Shale along for their dialogue. I want to experience what it's like having them in the party, hear the things they have to say to each other. Shale and Wynn have an interesting banter going back and forth. I remember that, having had them in the party at the same time before, but not down here. So I'm sure this is unique. I mean, you know, Shale comes from here, so I'm assuming there should be some interesting observations for him to make somewhere along the line. But anyway, it's worth a try. There were all my tactics. That's basically how I said. I tweaked it a little bit. One thing I had to take into account is Wynn's need to essentially look out for the whole party now, not just Alistair. Like before, I could say, well, if Alistair's almost dead, put a force field on him. If Alistair's health is to a certain point, do this. If Alistair's getting hit by ranged attacks, throw that defense on him. If he's getting hit by magical attacks, throw this defense on him. And she had him to worry about, and everybody else could kind of do their thing because Alistair's yelling at everybody and getting all the enemies to hate him a lot. And now we're splitting all that attention between everybody, and it's Wynn's job to keep everyone on her feet. It's not that she can't, but that's asking a bit of her. And I think without going into tactics and micromanaging anything, you know, playing more of a no pause style of gameplay, asking her to do her job seamlessly between all these people, and essentially treating all of us as tanks, right? And hopefully we can keep the enemy's attention off of her. I do have Shale and Oghren set up with taunt, but they can't take near the damage that Alistair can, so she's going to be strained twice as much to keep them alive, right? And I may be, you know, overthinking it a bit. It's probably not going to be all that big a deal. We can probably walk through quite a bit of this. I think we have a pretty solid build, you know, as far as the party goes. But anyway, that's a problem at some point we'll probably run into. This isn't the ideal party. Ideal to me would be Wynn, Morgan being kind of an off healer. I wouldn't really call her a healer at all as far as that goes, but you know, she can help a bit. But Wynn keeping Alistair on his feet, and Morgan just being support / DPS / awesomeness, you know, they work really well together. As long as Alistair's doing his job, the mages can really shine, and I can too, actually. Get in there and get lots of backstabs and stuff, which shouldn't be a problem here. I just have to think that Shale and Oghren aren't going to be able to stay on their feet as well as Alistair could have. We're going to run through a lot of health potions too. Oghren did set him up with you know, the best gear I had available. I did have a ring for him and some other stuff. You know, the armor. I think it was Evan the Great's mail. Decided to go ahead and pass that along to him, and that's perfect for him. In fact, it's mail that I would be using if I was playing that class as my main character. You know, the two-handed warrior. It's kind of a DPS off tank type of deal. So that's a good deal. You know, he's not coming down here defenseless. Also, that sword that we got from the dragon in Orzammar up there in the Royal Palace or whatever, I gave him that. And although I did not go put some runes in it, if I could have put some silverite runes in it, it already weakens any darkspawn that are essentially in range of Oghren. But on top of that, if I could have put some silverite runes, oh man, he'd be doing some damage. But the thing about them is there's going to be a lot of ranged, as you notice, a lot of archers here, and there's going to be a whole lot more to come. Neither Shale nor Oghren really have any defense, so to speak of. They've got armor rating. It's pretty high, and they have decent health pools. But they don't have any real defense as far as that goes. Unless, you know, it's something, a buff, one of their abilities, one of their sustained abilities that they keep active. That helps a bit, but they're going to get hit with just about every arrow, because, again, on Nightmare, the attack rating of enemies is a lot higher. And so it treats your defense as being a lot lower than what it actually is. My dexterity's through the roof, and I can still get hit. And these guys whose dexterity is 10% what mine is, you know, type of thing, they have very little, if no defense at all. Not compared to the attacks that they're getting. So that's cool. Anyway. I'm going to try to be as thorough as possible. It's a little hard right here as we're re-exploring the area we started the game in. In fact, this place right here is where we found our brother dead and we got blamed for it. Where Balin's bitch ass crossed us out. But I want to look around here. This right here, Asunder, that's kind of a little side quest that we complete down here. There's also Topsider's Honor. That's a harder one because I don't remember where everything's at. You got to find little stuff, and it essentially means fighting everybody at some point or another. Wow, crushing prison is just brutal. Notice I did set Wynn to watch out for everybody's health. As if we were all Alistair, essentially. But anyway, a lot of this stuff, oh, thank you for Mana Clash. It requires you essentially fighting everything down here in the deep roads if you want to find everything. There's going to be all those bloody limbs and things like that for the Asunder quest, and there's going to be sword pieces that you find mostly off bosses down here, darkspawn bosses and stuff, to eventually put a sword together at this warrior's grave. And then you have the crosscut drifters down here, which give you a decent dagger. Actually, it's one that I'll probably pass along to Zevran. Not that I'll be really using him anymore, but still, he'll be around. Maybe when we get back to dinner, I'll start using Zevra in a bit. I would kind of like to unlock this little personal quest thing that goes on with him. But, dagger I can pass along to him. Now, there's also a dagger, and this I know about. It's only available through the DLC if you have Shale, and you go and you visit his Thaig. I think it's the Kadash Thaig down here, and it's unlocked in his little personal companion quest type of deal. I think it's the Dead Thaig Shanker or something like that. Anyway, other than the Rose's Thorn, it's like the other best dagger in the game, essentially. But the daggers I have now are good. I mean, I could finish the game with them, so I'm cool. But if I do unlock that Thaig, then we'll probably come back and investigate. Alright, now this is where we came to get the Idukan shield, if I recall correctly. One of these buildings right here, which are no longer open. But this is where we got ambushed by a bunch of thugs sent by Balin, of course. They even had a copy of the Royal Signet Ring or something. Or they had Balin's Royal Signet Ring. So they could get in a secret door or whatever. And get in here and try to get the shield before we did, or something like that. We all know the end result of that. We just killed everybody.
Complete, on to the next.
But you notice this did start the Asunder quest, so it was necessary to come here to at least pick that up. I think we start the Crosscut Drifters and or the Topsider's Honor here also. We find like one of the... I don't remember. I mean, what's cool is you can come back to these places. If you're missing one part of any one of those little side quests, you can always come back and double check and see what you missed. Just scour everything. Nothing respawns down here, not that I've ever seen. So you pretty much know that if there's an enemy on your little mini map there on the top right, you see the little red arrows in an area down here. That means you haven't been there yet. And once you have cleared it out, then you can walk around safely and, you know, scour and look behind rocks and behind boulders and stuff and see what you've missed. I really like this area though. I think it's just cool. They kind of throw a little everything at you. It's fun to explore. Lots of little side quests and things. Loot to be had. If you're hard up on loot, once you leave the deep roads, you should have a minimum of 20-30 gold worth of stuff. Not to mention other things you pick up down here for people back in Orzammar, like that one girl wants proof that she's one of the Orton clan or something. Anyway, she wants proof that she descended from them, and we could find that for her down here. And there's some other stuff. That one girl who lost her son down here, we're going to look for him. And so on and so forth. So lots of really cool things to go find. These guys are like the deep roads cockroaches, man. Just come out of nowhere. Seems like there's no end of them. With their snarly lips. Alright. One reason I'm going to be really thorough down here is pretty much going to have to cover all the areas to get all the stuff anyway. But even if you didn't, I don't remember exactly right off the top of my head where absolutely everything is. So some of these places will get kind of familiar. If you remember when we first started this game, I said it was somewhat of a turn-based style combat. You can kind of see in the numbers how the player and the enemy are essentially taking their turn. You get an animation of them doing an attack, the basic thing, and then you'll have other animations for certain status effects, like when they're paralyzed or crushing prison or on fire or, you know, things like that. But other than that, it's pretty much just the numbers going back and forth. I guess every video game is essentially like that, but a lot of times it's hidden in the movement and action of the game. This, like when you lock onto a target, your character will actually move into that spot, almost like doing the tactical thing for you, and then go through the animations showing that it's attacking, and then you see the numbers come up as the, you know, computer crunches the numbers. It's basically turn-based, basically. What's cool though is they give you enough control, just enough control over your character though to, you know, make it feel like combat, more or less. Okay, I'm probably going to be in trouble back here if I start really taking a beating. But this guy is my target. He needs to go, yeah. Let him get off one more spell and I'm probably dead. If he can lock me in place, or crushing prison, or curse me, or something, I'm in trouble. But these guys almost can't hit me. You'll see numbers come up off me when they do. You don't see very many numbers. Not with these guys. And the white named enemies can almost not hit me now at all. I think that's just badass, actually. For those of you looking at party builds and that are also, you know, coming along for the ride and watching, you know, the Let's Play, I will mention that always keep in mind any passive or any sustained abilities with anybody in your party that provides team offense or attack, team defense, or anything along those lines. Team stamina regen. Even if you have no problem with stamina regen for your main character, like me, I use like only one activated ability, essentially, and everything else is sustained abilities. You know, like Flurry, which is essentially haste, or whatever. Not Flurry, but whatever that is. Haste, you know, the one where I attack faster. And then, you know, Keen Defense, where it raises my defense quite a bit. You know, stuff like that. Any passives, any sustained abilities that can buff the team are good. Because, like, say, with me, I don't have much of a problem with it. But if I'm asking my mages or my warriors to do a lot of stuff, like taunt a lot, war cry a lot, of course, lots of heals, lots of offensive and defensive spells, and, you know, so on and so forth. Any abilities they have, they need the mana or stamina pool to do that. If they're out of stamina or mana, it doesn't matter if those spells are on cooldown or not, they can't cast them. And true enough, you know, set them to drink Lyrium potions, but, you know, they're only going to slug down so many. You know, unless you just want to keep 99 on you at all times type of thing. It's nice to have those party buffs. Those can come in handier than any single offensive spell that does, you know, well, that looks like it does pretty good damage, I think I'll pick that. Well, it may have a huge mana cost, and if you don't factor in some kind of buff to keep their mana pool up, they're not going to be able to use that spell, as fancy as it is, or they'll use it at the expense of 5 other spells which you'd rather them use, which they're not using because they don't have enough energy for it. Right, so any kind of team buffs are definitely a plus. Sustained abilities, I'll usually run with those before I run with active abilities, honestly. I think the biggest problem that I've seen, or that I've heard, you know, listening to people's comments and stuff, you know, dealing with Nightmare is, you know, I mean, obviously the enemies have a lot higher defenses, a lot higher attack, do more damage, take less damage, or else just have ridiculous health and armor ratings and resistances and blah, 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 right? But as you think about all this stuff that you need to be doing, well, I'm dying, so I need to do all this stuff for defense, right? And so maybe maybe you find all this really, really super heaviest armor that you can find in this and that and blah, 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 and don't realize that armor has a huge stamina penalty, right? And so, you know, you put it on your tank, you know, well, why is my tank still getting two-shotted or whatever, right? And if you look at the abilities that you picked, you may find, this will probably usually be the case, is that you have nothing to buff stamina regen, or that you're asking your warrior to do a whole lot of things, or you may be wanting your tank to be doing a lot more offensive stuff early. Like, these enemies are killing me and I can't kill them, so I need my... Well, that's really not your tank's job. Your tank is to draw all the attention of the enemies. Your mage's job is to keep your tank on his feet. Your DPS job is to kill those enemies whose attention is on your tank before they have a chance to mob your tank and kill your tank. I mean, they're supposed to be mobbing your tank anyway, but don't let them just stand there for 20 minutes while they just beat your tank into the ground, because, you know, your tank will eventually die, especially early game. You know, it only takes so much damage. And so if...
believe Harrowmont actually
Oops,
tracked
sorry.
this place down. This used to be one of the biggest crossroads in the old empire. You could get anywhere from here, including Thaig. Not a one, but trust me, we will once we're on the path to the old Thaig. She was going to Caridin's home. Only Branka's hero, the most famed Paragon ever to rise from Smith Cast. He built the anvil, and he's the only one who ever knew its secret. He was an Orton before he founded his own house, and even then, he spent most of his time in their Thaig. Branka figured it was the best guess for where the anvil was located. No one but Caridin ever really knew more than it had some kind of stone-blessed power. Every golem who ever ranged across the Empire was hammered on the steel of that anvil, but no one ever knew exactly how they were made. But Branka was sure she could find out. Aye, Branka dug up some maps of the ancient Empire. It's a little tough to tell with so much of it collapsed now. But near as I can figure, we're on the right path to Thaig. I've been waiting for someone to say that for 2 sodding years.
Oh, we got company. We can just guess who these are. Some Balin's lackeys, or the Carter's lackeys, or something. Get the stupid, save thing out of the way. There we go. Stand forever, guard the path. Darkness grows. Alright.
Well, look what we have here. A couple of Harrowmont's little lackeys. Let's show them who's king.
Yeah, Balin's lackeys, and they're hired thugs. So, Balin sent these guys down here to, take care of us. As if the Darkspawn weren't enough. Of course, the Darkspawn couldn't kill me the first time. I was sent down here in exile, right? I can see why Balin might think that they're not going to get me this time either. Which they're not. But, okay. Alright, so back to party build, and you'll hear me harp on it a lot. I think success in this, it's big to me, you know. If you watch along with my Let's Plays, what's really cool to me is, you know, builds. Putting skills together and stuff like that, where you get a lot of team synergy, and to where the game, kind of getting the game to work the way it's supposed to, in a sense.
Care to partake of Oghren's fine home brew? It's the drink of the gods.
Ale, is it? And I hope it's brewed hygienically.
Of course, I may not know clean from a
Alright, Oghren's gonna share his ale with Wynn, and Wynn's like, you know, when it comes to ale and fine wines and things like that, Oghren's like, yeah.
Well, what do you think?
Very nice.
You like it? Well, I never...
Attractive amber color, nutty flavor, slightly sweet, just a hint of toastiness. There's some spice to it I'm finding hard to place.
Yes. Yes?
Is it cloves?
Cloves! By the stone, you're a lady after my own heart.
That's awesome. Oh, Wynn and Oghren, you wouldn't think, right, that they wind up being buds. That's just cool, man. That is one of the things that makes this game great, is the dialogue like that. But anyway, I really like getting a game to work the way it's supposed to. Taking the game mechanics and saying, okay, well, how can we do this? You know, I know the tactical menu's there, but it's a personal challenge to be able to play like this, right? So getting my team to do what it's supposed to do and thinking ahead of time, that's like a game within the game. At least to me, is getting the tactics set and stuff where everybody works naturally. It makes I know. Well, I guess maybe I've never been on a battlefield, so I guess maybe you have to get in there and micromanage what your troops are doing. But I would kind of hope to think that a squad would essentially kind of know their jobs, where you wouldn't have to tell them, when to take a piss and when to wipe their butt, type of thing. That they would be able to at least think for themselves to a certain point. So coming in here and fighting, with my party and my team, I would like to think that I don't have to tell them, you stand here, wait there, move over here, walk 2 feet to the right, attack now, don't attack now, heal this, and screw that. I want to just come in and kick ass and stuff, and you can set your tactics right, then you can. As long as everyone's doing their thing. Anyway, I really enjoy that. That's where I get passionate about the game, so to speak. Along with the story, along with the gameplay and everything else, all that's wonderful. But on top of that, it's kind of like an added bonus, as I get to play with, the game mechanics, combat mechanics and stuff, and tactics and behaviors and settings and all that kind of cool stuff. Anyway, for those of you who either maybe have struggled with Nightmare or have had problems with, party mechanics and stuff like that, to oversimplify, and look at this, it's still registering that I have an enemy somewhere. Alright, so I can't even pick anything up. Well, actually I can. There's a way to pick things up even if you're in combat. And this place is, I guess you could say, buggy. I think all these enemies are designed to essentially mob you at once, but they never do. They just sort of spawn sporadically like this. And I'm kind of glad this emissary didn't get into the middle of it when we were getting mobbed over there. But if you think about building a house, all right, you don't put a roof on a house that doesn't have any walls. You kind of have to build from the ground up type of thing. So before assigning top tier abilities to your team, I found it to work best to set it up to where the team can support those abilities before your team uses them. In other words, if you have this super massive, awesome, sexy spell, this one-hitter quitter type of spell type deal, but don't have the power to use it, get the power to use it. Be over the top. As far as, well, I could cast twice as many spells as I'm casting. I have this huge mana pool and I have all that. Well, then you've got room to add another spell or two, or add another tactic or two, or ask more of that particular party member to do something. But up until that point, that party member won't be able to reliably do those things when you most need them to do them, because they won't have the mana pool or whatever to do it, if that makes sense. So, putting everything in order, doing it in steps, essentially building the team from the ground up. It's kind of how it's designed. I'm sure there's workarounds and shortcuts and this and that and blah blah blah, but I found a pretty much tried, true and tested way to get a team working the way it's supposed to, where you can crank up the difficulty and do your thing, and equipment isn't such a big deal. Of course, you want the best gear and this and that and blah blah blah, but I don't have to break the game essentially, or go out of my way and step completely out of my playstyle to go find that one particular item to sew my whole party together. I rely on the build, and then the equipment and things like that augment it. Now there are times where certain equipment does make the build. I mean, like I have a build designed around a certain style of equipment, like extra critical chance, extra critical damage, certain kinds of buffs or something that I expect from gear. And sure, I look for those items and things, but if you put your skills and your abilities together in such a way where everything works well with each other, you have survivability even if you don't have the top-notch items yet. It's one thing to say, well, everything would be great to get this sword, but to get that sword you have to kill these 3 bosses. To kill those 3 bosses, you have to have something to work with, and sometimes it's not the best gear yet. In fact, sometimes you have to go through hell and high water just to get that gear that you're talking about that makes you a badass, after the fact. You get the super sexy sword after you've killed everything that super sexy sword is designed to kill. And it's like, well, what do I need this thing now for? I mean, it's great that I have it, but it sure would have been nice to have this, a couple hours ago when I was fighting those 5 dragons or 10 demons or whatever, And so, if the build's solid, then gear, isn't quite so necessary. I've seen comments left on videos and stuff where people are like, why don't you upgrade this and get top tier that and this and that? Well, sometimes, especially when I'm new to an RPG, I don't know how readily available certain materials will be. Like, for example, in Inquisition, you know, well, I find out later on, you know, after the fact that, yeah, there's plenty of dragon bones and dragon scales to be had, and you can probably make several pieces of gear. Full set of armor, a top-notch weapon, and probably have some stuff left over to work on some things for your followers, if you go kill all the dragons type thing. But not knowing that ahead of time, I'm not going to waste all my really, really rare top-tier materials to make something at level 15 and find out 2 hours later I've wind up with the schematic that's 10 times better than the weapon I just made, and I've used the materials that I should have had for that top-tier schematic and wasted it on a weapon that I'm going to be throwing away, you know. But, you know, after, like, with Origins, I played through this quite a bit. I mean, I've had my share of hours in this on both systems, you know, Xbox and PlayStation, and complete gamed it on both. I think I've paid my dues, put my time in, and so I know where some things are, and I kind of know ahead of time, well, I won't need this until then, and I can go ahead and spend this here because I'll have that later, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But if it was my first run through, you know, if I was running in blind, there's a lot of things I'm hesitant to invest in early, because I'm like, you know, this item, you know, I just had to fight 8 bosses to get this one thing. Odds are I'm probably not going to find another one, and I have the option to spend this item now or spend it later. I'm probably going to hold on to it. So, like in Inquisition, if you've been watching my Let's Play over there, there's been some cases where I'm running around with essentially what I've found, because I'm thinking in the back of my head, as soon as I make something and spend this, you know, this really valuable stuff on making something right now, in 5 minutes, I'm going to wish I hadn't. And, you know, honestly, in looking back, that was the case several times, where I had, I don't know, a dozen obsidian, which would be a dime a dozen way later in the game, but at the time was pretty rare and pretty valuable, and I had an option to spend it right now, or one level later, come across this friggin' schematic for this armor that was almost twice as good as what I could have just made, or this weapon that had almost double the damage as the weapon I could have just made, type of deal. So, anyway. Just, that's a little of my reasoning along the lines of equipment and stuff like that, is why you don't see me upgrading all the time and always being worried about, oh, I could be getting 5 more DPS than what I'm getting now if I just spend everything in my backpack, you know, to go make this one thing, and I'm not going to worry about it that much. I mean, unless I'm just really struggling, unless I'm, you know, it's taking me 5 hours to kill, you know, the simplest little minion. You know, in a case like that, sure, time to go upgrade my stuff. Or I'm getting one shot by everything. Okay, time to go get new armor. But if I'm walking through and I'm just playing and things are going okay, a lot of times it's out of sight, out of mind. Unless armor or weapon becomes an issue, I'm not going to invest too much thought into it. All right, so let's see. We still have path down south. And we still have a path over there on the east side of the map, too. It's cool, you can see the little trails coming off the main hallways, show you where you haven't been. It's much easier in these maps because it's still black where you haven't been. So, you know, it's darkened out, you can see whether you've gone through there or not. One problem, though, is for the, you may run into this, I don't know if it's a bug or if it's just designed this way, but even if you activate the quest, for like the crosscut drifter, like that right there, okay? Even if you activate it, sometimes it doesn't show up as that big quest icon on the map. Even if you're on the right map and you know where you need to go, it won't show an icon as it actually being there. You have to actually walk up to it. Like, once you find all the crosscut drifter things that you need to for the quest, the actual loot stash itself won't show up on the map. Even if you activate it, for whatever reason. That may not be the case with everybody, but it's been the case with me. Alright, those Brontos are a little more serious business in Inquisition. They do that charge thing and they'll wipe your whole party. It's pretty ridiculous, actually. Once they catch you, they'll just push you back, like, forever.
Another one. It's dark.
I'd like to think he dropped something too. It's not a lot of blood. I kind of wonder if I was a little farther along in my relationship with Shale, if I couldn't have unlocked Kadash Thaig already and had it available so we could go explore it while we were down here. Probably a way to do that. Don't know. Right, so Mage is first order of business. Notice archers aren't near as effective as they were in Dragon Age 2, and not even close to as bad as they are in Inquisition. In Inquisition, they're the new mages. But in here, archers really not that big of a deal. You get enough of them all targeting just you. Well, sure enough. I mean, okay, they can do their thing. But right, let's see if I can tank this Bronto. I don't think he can hit me. He could probably charge me, probably do an AoE type thing, and knock me down or something, but... I think I finally got hit. Once. Love this build. For those of you that are interested, I will share this, the whole build and all the party tactics. I haven't really set Zevran to be effective because he's doing what I do, and I don't need two of us type of thing. So usually if I bring a rogue, I want a ranged rogue. I want someone that can stay over there, mind their own business, and stay out of the way, type of thing. You know, don't run into the mob and die, type deal. Setting up a melee rogue is a different deal. Now in Dragon Age 2, you did have Isabel. And she could do her thing, but she was in there essentially to control the battlefield. Her whole job was to make this enemy go there and make that enemy come over here and that type of thing. Distract that enemy there, send that enemy over to someone else, and pretty much keep the whole battlefield confused as far as the enemy was concerned. While she was doing her thing. Kind of a damage dealer second. That's how I found to use her effectively. That was my thing. I mean, she could still deal out her own... her share of pain, you know, I'm not going to take that away from her, but she was really good for, like, tactical things, you know, as far as controlling the enemy and stuff. But other than that, I'm not much for bringing in another melee rogue. If I have a rogue come in, it's ranged, like Leliana with her bow, you know, and that's fine. That works good for me. But, like I said, I haven't really worried much about Zevran. If you like using Zevran a lot, I don't know. I'd set Zevran essentially up the same way, set a rogue, you know, just trying to get him to do nothing but backstabs on his own. I've seen the AI, and I don't know if there's really a way around this. Maybe there's a particular setting in tactics that I don't know about where the AI will just naturally flank opponents, but I haven't really found it, but not like I've really invested any time in it either, so I don't really know. Honestly, I really don't. Look, another one of these down here. Interesting. These things are freaking everywhere, man. Of course, we get a Revenant with this, right? And you did see the tactics here, but I will primarily cover the tactics. You know, a team build that I like playing along with the rogue, and it's not a whole lot different when I play with the warrior. But then Leliana is like mandatory to have in the party, and it can actually, in some ways, be tougher. But even so, there's a way to build a warrior, especially if you dual wield. Either way, you can dual wield or two-handed weapon. They're both essentially equally effective. But, there's a way to build your warriors where you're essentially doing the job of a rogue. That's basically how he plays, is play as a rogue, just without the stealth. But you can take more hits. You know, you go heavy armor and all that kind of stuff. So instead of not getting hit, you can take hits, and other than that, you're essentially a warrior rogue. It's kind of how that class is played when I played it. But playing here as a rogue, I will show you my party tactics and the whole build and where I've assigned my skills. If you like the way this looks, if you like the way my rogue is playing, I'm personally finding it's pretty easy for the most part. There's some sticky areas. There's going to be down here. Why is my... Wow. Is it just me? This seems like about the third time this has happened. I need to find just a save point and reload the game. That's fixed it up to this point. I wonder why it's doing that. Ah, there's graffiti on there. Harriman is a dust lover. Alright. Anyway, share my, if you like the way this looks, if you like the way this rogue is playing, then I'll share the build and all the tactics and this and that, and, you know, follow along with it if you want, or tweak it, you know. Anything can always be improved upon. Somebody will have some new ideas or some new insight, or say, you know, I'd rather be doing this than doing that. Yeah, it's time to go ahead and save and reload this. All right. I might as well level up on him right here too, right? Almost everything in dexterity. With buffs and everything, my dexterity should hit 100. And I don't know what exactly my attack rating will be, but my attack rating minus the enemy's defense rating still is going to be really, really high hit chance, even on bosses. That's the way I like it. I'm really out of stuff. I had mentioned, I think in the last video, Twin Fangs. I wasn't aware that there isn't. I think, I don't know what the substitute is. Maybe it's, the Flurry? Is Flurry the substitute? Whirlwind's so-so for AoE, but, you know, honestly, the dual weapon sweep, the one that you essentially start with, I can just roll with that. All I really am going to look for now is buffs. That raises your critical chance, so when I'm not actually backstabbing somebody, I guess that's cool. Critical chance, critical damage, and I'll always take either of those. So there we have it. Alright, so we got Shriekers behind us. What do we got over here? Got an Ogre. Let's get these guys. These are Darkspawn ninjas. I think Shrieks are werewolves. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're werewolves that have been, would you say, corrupted or modified by the Darkspawn. I mean, Darkspawn have a version of everything. They have versions of humans, which I believe are the Hurlocks. They have versions of the Dwarves, which are their Genlocks. Ogres are Canary, right? And then, see, Brontos are... Shit, I don't know. I'm not even necessarily sure that Brontos are Darkspawn. I guess they are. Darkspawn type. I don't know. Let me think. Okay, and you've got the emissaries, which some of the emissaries, they look like dwarf mages. Which, once the Darkspawn corrupt them, somehow that works. I don't know how that plays in the lore. I'm sure it has some significance, actually. You guys would know better than I would. But anyway, those Shrieks have to be somebody. I'm assuming werewolves? Kind of the way they walk around all hunched over and this and that. I'm not sure what the Shriek has to do with that. I think it's their version of a howl. A wolf howl type thing. Because I know it can stun you when they shriek really loud. But, anyway, I don't know. Just a guess. Okay, now this is where... the Topsider's honor? No. Is that... No, that's where the Crosscut Drifter stash pops up. But I think I have to go explore one more tunnel, get the last clue, and then I think I can come straight back here. I'm pretty sure. I think we can essentially finish it up in this area. They may not just be werewolves, they may be shadow werewolves. Remember there was, right at the end of the ruins in the Brazilian forest, you had those shadow werewolves, the little ninja ones that could pop up out of nowhere. I wonder if that's specifically what these are. Once again, it's just a guess. Okay. No, Topsider's honor. Okay, now bosses are going to drop those. We're going to have to wait till we get to the end of this whole quest thing to get the last piece of that.
That wasn't so bad.
Alright, so one more tunnel, right? Off to the bottom right. Yeah, see it way down there in the bottom right corner. Okay. Everything else is pretty much cleared out. But you notice each, I guess you could say, path has its own particular collectible thing you need for, I don't know, one of the little side quests or whatever. I'm grateful for the map, I'll tell you that. Notice there's little red arrows on the mini-map, so that shows there's something down here. We haven't been here yet.
I'm unable to do that.
I think this is the Deep Stalker apocalypse right here. When you can get Wynn and Morgan both throwing down the paralysis
Let's get started. Make this quick.
rune thingies or whatever, glyphs, paralysis glyphs, it's awesome. There's something you can even use with the paralysis with to make mass paralysis. I think it has friendly fire on it though, but it is like a cross-class combo type deal. Well, it's essentially the mage doing all of it, but you can set one mage up to set it up, and then another mage to trigger it. But just having those down, that can sometimes save your mages, actually. And set up enemies for instant backstabs from your rogue. Any paralyzed, stunned, sleeping enemy gets instant backstabs, so all your regular attacks become backstabs, regardless of whether you're facing them or not.
To the shadows. Only one.
You know, these going to be kind of long down here. I don't know really a way to break these up. I mean, I guess I could. It seems like it would kind of interrupt the flow. I'd rather take a chance on a little longer video. I assume anybody watching is interested in this part of the game, or the game period. And so a little bit longer isn't necessarily such a bad thing. At least not as far as something like this is concerned. Because, like I say, I'll try to include each Thaig basically in its own little adventure type of deal. See how that works. So if they're roughly in the hour range, sorry about that, but no real way to shorten it and be thorough. I'd like to find everything.
It is done.
Where's the super boss Deep Stalker? The head chief Uber Deep Stalker. Down here somewhere. Did we already kill it? Oh, no, no. Okay. Alright, we still have... Oh, it gotta be over here. Let's say, I remember there being a boss deep stalker. Super, super vicious, snarly lips. Yes. Somewhere in here. Okay, these cages down here. Is this where Darkspawn trap? Now, if the Darkspawn were to corrupt it, or maybe Deep Stalkers can't be corrupted, but if they were, what would they be? Can't right off the top of my head think of anything. Lots of archers. Okay, if this was Inquisition, I'd be dead. I'm just saying. Okay, that's the last of those, I think. Now the next Thaig, which is like kind of our main one, we'll finish up a bunch of this stuff. Yeah, we got company. Lots of company. You realize, put all these enemies together, just how much XP we're getting down here. I mean, this is, we're already getting pretty high level here, so we're not going to level. But if we come here, like, first, which I wouldn't, as far as my build is concerned, I wouldn't, but still, if we come here first, we've leveled up, like, a lot. Stalker leader? Yeah. That's not the boss Deep Stalker. That's like, what, 2 dozen already?
Watch for the beasts.
Oh my gosh. Alright, well.
Let's get started. Right.
Okay, there it is. Alright, so that, yeah, was in this last tunnel over here. Now we head back to where we fought that ogre, where that ogre was kind of hiding off in the corner, and I believe that's the spot. Here he is. Super, uber boss Deep Stalker, yes. Deep Stalker Matriarch. This is the mom. Look at all those eggs back there. Okay, now I see why there's so many right here. And there we go. Alright, so now we can go back and get our Drifter's Cache, get our Thorn of the Dead God's Dagger, which I probably won't use. It's not as good as either of the daggers I have now, but I can pass along to Zevran. Something to work with. Anyway, it's essentially across the hall over here. Quick travel over here. This is where that ogre was hiding. Right about there. And here we go. Born of the Dead Gods. Oh, Effort's Gloves. Okay, it's unique also. Part of that armor set. That's useless to me. I've never really been a fan of the Effort set, but it is what it is. Ring of the Warrior. Now that's nice. And I'll probably pass that along to Oghren too. Give him another little boost. That would have been good for Liliana to have. I could have saved her a couple points into strength to equip her armor. But it's all good. Alright, we can get out of here and we can head on to oh, what's the next one? The Orton Thaig? There we'll find Orta's family records and keep on going. Lots of things to do there, actually. But yeah, that's our next stop. Alright, thanks for watching. No, it was a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. Nice hanging out, chatting with you guys. Alright, if you want to subscribe, click that button over my head. If you haven't already. And if you would like to watch the rest of the Origin Let's Play, click the top box. For all my videos, click the bottom box. And I will catch you guys later. Bye-bye.